Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into an ancient story with a lesson that feels like it was written for right now. We're talking about the Sakuna Jataka, which is all about the incredible wisdom of knowing when to let go. But let me just start with a question for you. Think about this for a second. What do you do when the very thing you count on for safety, your refuge, your comfort zone, suddenly becomes the source of the danger? It's a really tough question, right? Well, our story today has a surprisingly clear answer. So, let's start with this big idea. What happens when your shelter turns against you? Recognizing that critical turning point is, honestly, one of the most important skills we can ever learn. And the key to understanding this comes from a story that's over 2,500 years old. It's a Jataka tale, a story from one of the Buddha's past lives, and it's all about seeing what's on the horizon and having the guts to actually do something about it. All right, so let's get into the story itself. I want you to picture a lush, green forest a long, long time ago, a place that was just teeming with life. We're in ancient India, in a forest near the city of Varanasi. And in this forest stands this magnificent, enormous tree. It's so big, it's practically a city in itself for a huge flock of birds. They're living the good life, totally at peace. And their leader? Well, he was the Bodhisattva, a bird with just incredible wisdom. Now, one day, the wise bird spots something. It's something super subtle, something everyone else just completely missed. As the wind blew, two of the tree's branches were rubbing together, creating just the faintest little wisp of smoke. See, the danger wasn't some predator from the outside, it was coming from the tree itself. And the Bodhisattva, he knew immediately what this meant. He got all the other birds together and told them, "Hey, everyone, listen up. Danger has come from the one place we thought was safe, our own home." Think about how scary that must have been to hear. And just like that, the flock was divided. You had the wise birds, who listened and trusted their leader's judgment. They got it. They understood that you don't trade safety for comfort. But then, you had the unwise birds. They just laughed it off. They thought he was crazy, just overreacting. They were too attached to their cozy home to even consider leaving. And then, it had happened. Just as the wise bird predicted, that little bit of friction sparked a flame. The fire grew fast, and thick smoke poured through the branches. The unwise birds who stayed behind were completely trapped. Blinded by the smoke, they had nowhere to go. They died in the very home they just couldn't bring themselves to leave. So you might be thinking, that's a pretty intense fable, but this isn't just some random old story. It actually has a very specific origin, a reason it was told by the Buddha himself. See, the Buddha originally shared this tale with one of his monks who was having a really hard time. The monk had gone off to meditate in the forest, but then disaster struck, and his whole practice just fell apart. He was completely stuck. Let's break down what happened to this poor guy. First month, his little meditation hut burns to the ground. Okay, bad luck. But instead of taking action, he just waits. For 2 more months, he's living out in the open, waiting for some villagers to come and rebuild it for him. And for 3 whole months, he's miserable, distracted, and his meditation? Gone. Completely failed. So when the monk came back, feeling like a failure, the Buddha told him the story of the birds. And the lesson was so direct, so powerful. He basically said, look, in a past life, even an animal knew when its home was no longer working for it. They knew when it was time to leave a bad situation. Why didn't you? The monk was clinging to a broken situation, just like those birds clung to their burning tree. Okay, so that's the story. What on earth does this have to do with us today in our busy lives? Well, this is where it gets really practical. That burning tree is such a perfect metaphor, isn't it? It could be anything. Maybe it's a job that used to feel like a dream but now just drains the life out of you. Or a relationship that was once your rock but has now become a source of pain. It could even be a habit, a way of thinking that you're comfortable with, but that's actually holding you back. We all have them. The good news is the wise bird gives us a super clear 4-step guide. First, observe. You gotta pay attention to those little signs, those first wisps of smoke. Second, analyze. Connect the dots. See where this path is actually leading. Third, decide. Make the tough call to put your own well-being first, even if it's uncomfortable. And last, and this is the most important one, act. You have to actually take flight. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? It's one thing to see a problem coming, but true wisdom That's having the courage to actually do something about it. It's about having the strength to fly away before the whole thing goes up in flames. So, as we wrap this up, let's just end with a simple thought, a wish that comes right from the heart of this story. The lesson here is a beautiful guide for all of us. May we all have the kind of clarity that the wise bird had, to see the smoke when it first appears. And, just as importantly, may we all find the courage to follow that path towards real safety, towards peace. Thank you so much for joining me for this one. I hope it was helpful. And as always, may you all be happy.